Hello and welcome to my 10-year anniversary special, because as of 10 years ago today, I posted my very first movie review on this channel, that being Man of Steel, one of the most polarizing superhero movies to ever exist. In that sense where you either have the one group of people who either love that movie because it's meant to be a more serious take on Superman while also deconstructing the character, or you have the other group of people who hate this movie, think it's one of the worst superhero movies ever made because it not only doesn't represent Superman whatsoever, but many say that it's essentially trying to cash in on the success of the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy by turning a character who's typically a Boy Scout into a more brooding superhero like Batman. And as for myself, I land somewhere in the middle, and I just think the movie is just really okay. Sure, it's got some great action sequences and a great soundtrack, but I thought the pacing and the narrative could have been a lot better. But moving past that, since then I have gone on to produce 149 more reviews, resulting in me creating, in a 10-year time span, 150 reviews, which for me is actually more than I thought I would ever accomplish. Given that when I first started doing movie reviews, I just did them as a hobby. And to this day, I still do them as a hobby. But when I first started doing them back in the day, it was something for me to do to keep me occupied in between college and looking for a job in between. With the eventual goal being that once I get a job, I would just stop doing movie reviews altogether. And now that I actually have a job sometime post-college, I'm still doing movie reviews, just because it's something for me to do. But anywho, normally at this point, I would go into more detail in terms of what inspired me to do movie reviews, but if you ever saw my 150 subscribers special from a few years ago, I go into much greater detail there, so I won't beat a dead horse on that front. But as far as my actual movie review content is concerned, on the one hand, I actually think I have come a very long way, or at least I would like to think I've come a long way from critiquing movies from back in the day up to now. And although I do put a lot more time and effort into making the reviews themselves as good as much as possible, the type of content I cover isn't as diverse as it was back when I first started. Because even though I reviewed a ton of cheesy sci-fi movies, it felt like there was a lot more variety to them, especially superhero movies. But now it just feels like I've been working on nothing but, not so much superhero movies, but more just big franchise movies in general, ranging from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the DC Extended Universe, the Godzilla franchise. I'm just getting franchise fatigued. But at least what I try to do is, when I try to do reviews of those franchises, I do a review for one movie from that franchise, followed by a miscellaneous movie. Then I go back to said franchise movie, non-franchise movie, and continue that pattern until I get done with that section. And I feel like the meat of my content in terms of where I started going downhill, I feel like happened around 2017. Because I remember at the time I did back-to-back theatrical movie reviews for both Wonder Woman and Transformers The Last Night, resulting in what I thought was at the time somewhat more longer pieces of content. Because most of my movie reviews up to this point have either ranged from being either 4 to 10 minutes in length, whereas Wonder Woman and Transformers Last Night ranged between being 16 to 18 minutes in length, until my review of Spider-Man Homecoming came out, which was about 27 minutes in length. And around that time period, I decided to go on hiatus because I was just getting a little burnt out, especially doing movie reviews for two movies that came out in theaters back to back, but with the intended goal of reviewing all of the Godzilla movies in preparation for the 2019 Godzilla King of the Monsters movie, which is still a work in progress because the Godzilla franchise is 30 plus movies, and on top of that, I also have to keep up with the MCU along with the DCEU. And what makes doing reviews of movies from each of these franchises even more tiring is that most of my reviews now clock in between 20 to 30 minutes. That's quite a bit of time to record and edit the review in question. But, however, I am a completionist, so I will chug through these at my own leisure in the pattern I have been reviewing them. Although that all said, eventually I would like to get back to my roots of reviewing just a bunch of miscellaneous movies that aren't attached to any big franchises. But if we're talking about a particular movie genre, I would actually like to review more horror movies, given that there are so many subgenres to choose from that honestly any subgenre could make for a good starting point. And on top of that, I would actually like to do more top 10 lists. I don't think I'll do them often, but I would like to do more of those in between the regular movie reviews themselves. And with that all said, thank you everybody who continually checked out my movie reviews for the past 10 years. And before I sign off, to those who have paid attention to me for the last 10 years or recently, I would like for you to check out my Man of Steel review from 10 years ago and compare it to my most recent review of Love and Monsters and see whether I've improved or not. If so, comment down below and see you later. And thank you.